What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. The first round of balance changes dropped this morning for merge tactics in Clash Royale. They're going to go live in a few days when the season resets. But let's go ahead and dive in and look at a few of these and see what my thoughts are and see if there's anything that they missed or anything that they overchanged, over buffed, over nerfed maybe. But let's dive right in here. We can see right here they nerfed 3 cards, they reworked 3 cards, and they buffed 3 cards. They also buffed 2 traits, reworked a trait, and then reworked 2 modifiers. And so let's get right into the specifics here. The first balance was a nerf to Archer Queen. Her range was previously 5 tiles, it is now 4. I think that's going to change a lot. She is going to be much less of a threat from the backline, and then she's melting your troops from the backline, and then it takes so long for them to get to her. And then once your fastest troop gets to her and breaks her down to 50% health, then she goes invisible and she melts him and the rest of your troops. Unbelievable. Obviously, she's the best card in the game. We all know that. Her invisibility duration also shrunk from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. I really don't think that's going to make a huge difference. I think the range was a much bigger nerf. But who knows? I mean, I still think she's going to be a really strong card. I still think Clan Avenger is going to be one of the best comps, but hopefully we see her being a lot less overpowered and being able to, completely solo teams on her own, because she is very hard to counter when there's a 3-star queen. P.E.K.K.A is the next nerf. Obviously, yes, she does the most burst damage, the highest damage, but I really didn't think that she was overpowered. I didn't see her as a threat. If somebody had a 3-star P.E.K.K.A, I'm like, okay, I got to deal with that, but it's not like I'm going to lose the game. I don't know if this was needed. Everybody in my community wasn't asking for this. I'm not sure why they did this. Maybe there's a much bigger need for it that I'm not aware of. Obviously, it wasn't a huge nerf, just a 6% damage nerf, and that's not going to be enough to make Ace a trash synergy at all. I still think P.E.K.K.A is a fantastic card. I use it in several of my comps, but I don't think that's anything to be worried about. Knight, this one actually really surprised me too. He is very good. He's very good in several comps, just because having 2 juggernauts on the field out of any comp in front of your front or in front of your back line is very helpful, and he pairs well with Princess and the Rangers. But I didn't feel like his hit speed was what needed to be nerfed. 70 hits per 100 seconds down to 60 hits per 100 seconds. I don't feel like that's a crazy nerf. I mean, you don't use Knight for the damage, and so as far as his utility goes, I think he's still probably going to be a really good card. Definitely still use him the same that you were. But I don't know. Do I really feel like it was needed? Maybe not, but who knows? The devs know more than I do. Valkyrie is definitely something that needed to be changed. I think she is very, very strong. But I like what they said. Valkyrie's relatively balanced, but we wanted to slow her down while keeping her damage per second at the same level. So that means that she's hitting fewer amount of times, but she's doing more damage. So she's going to be easier to kill before she destroys her troops by leaving more time in between attacks. There might be a few milliseconds that you can capitalize on by your melee troop getting an attack off that kills her before they take more damage. Just small micro interactions like that this is going to change. Overall, she's not really any worse of a card. And so I think that this is a fine change right here. Skeleton King got a rework as well. His damage was okay, I thought, but I think it's going to be really interesting now to see this huge damage buff, 29% damage buff, and the hit speed decreased. I think this is going to make him much more of a threat, because by doing more damage, he's more likely to get that final hit on a troop and actually create a skeleton. I said in a few videos that I think they needed to rework his ability and allow it to activate more often, because sometimes, it'll just be RNG that doesn't let him get the final hit on a troop. And so I think this is going to be very helpful in kind of negating that effect and making him more usable, and definitely make his skeletons, more frequent and give him more power there. I don't think he's going to be any worse because of this. I think he only gets better. Goblin buff, interesting here. The hit speed increasing. I mean, they wanted to be the fastest single target damage dealer. I think goblins needed to be. I think both of these goblin buffs are good, because they're not really cards you use. You use them to fill out a trait, and you use them to farm elixir. They're not anything you're going for their power. That's just not their role in the game, and I think that's fine. But I do think it's interesting that they went ahead and gave him some buff here. I mean, they reduced his HP by a bit, but they increased his damage and his hit speed just to make him more of what he is, just a squishy DPS character, which I think plays really well into his part in the assassin synergy. So I think this will be a good point for him. Maybe make assassins a bit stronger. And then Spear Goblin just getting a big damage buff. I think that's needed. Spear Goblin and throwers is very weak. It's awful when he's getting the ace trait. He's just useless. So whenever I get a 3-star Spear Goblin and throwers, I'm selling him to use that elixir to build up my other troops and make sure that he doesn't steal that ace trait away from one of my much more powerful troops, or that captain ability from the ace trait. So I think getting this damage buff is needed. I don't think he's going to be a huge dangerous character. Again, Bomber, same thing. I mean, throwers are a great synergy. I really think so. But they fail, or they pale in comparison to Rangers. I think these two buffs right here are going to make them very, very strong. Now there needs to be, I don't know. There's still a kind of something lacking from their ability. I think maybe a bit more damage on the lower tiers. I don't know. I feel like very rarely do they actually get to capitalize on the full strength of their ability from really far away. And they do enough, but I don't think it's as strong of an ability as throwers is, obviously. So hopefully this will make them a bit better, obviously, but it's not going to catapult throwers into being the best comp in the game. Mega Knight getting a damage buff. Thank you. Mega Knight was really bad, just really bad. Brawlers were trash, and we'll see that they're gonna get a huge buff here too. But Mega Knight getting a 41% damage buff is huge. This obviously applies to both of his single target attack and his jump stun. So this is going to make him a threat. Just being able to get into the backline and stun as well as doing damage is going to take some squishy backline troops out. I think this is a really strong buff. I use Mega Knight in a few of my comps. Obviously, he's used in the clan Avengers as the 6th troop there, but I think this is really needed for him. He's just been a weak troop, and I think this is going to help balance that out a lot. The trait balances. These are two that I did think needed to be buffed. The Brawlers were horrible, and getting this big buff to the HP is great. I still don't think it's that good of a buff in general. I was hoping they would kind of redo it entirely. Like, I know that, with the captain trait for Ace, you actually gain back some of the damage you do. I would have loved to have seen that be the whole premise of Brawler. That they, maybe they gain 20% of the damage they deal. Maybe that's too strong. I'm just throwing a number out there. But it would have been nice to see something that made them a bit more interesting. I just don't think that the bonus HP is enough to carry them into being a good trait. But, when the update drops, I'll play around with it, and I'll make sure to share my thoughts there. But I'm just not sure that this is going to be strong enough to make them, a usable trait or something you really want to go for. Undead getting the bonus damage is going to be awesome. If you're not sure how that works, yes, they curse the enemies, but after they defeat those enemies, all your undead troops gain a damage bonus. I never really thought undead was that bad. I knew it was one of the worst ones, but I think this is going to really help it. I love playing undead throwers, and with all the undead and thrower buffs, I'm just going to be playing that a whole lot more. I'm excited for this buff here. The Juggernaut rework, yes, it was very complicated. It was hard for me to explain how Juggernauts worked in video, and so I'm really glad they're doing this. Basically, for level 1, 20% shield. For a level 2, which is 4 out of 4 Juggernauts, you get 40% shield now. That makes it so much easier to understand. Yes, your Juggernauts are getting more shields than the rest of the troops behind them. Just make it kind of even out across the board. I do think they are going to be very strong. I love using the Juggernauts, especially just the 2 out of 4, because you can get it so frequently with good troops in your front line. So I think this was a pretty well needed rework here, just to make it clear. Yes, ouch. Hate ouch. I hate playing with ouch. You need a backline in your comp. You're just not going to win. You can't win with Juggernauts and like Mega Knight and Barbarian. You're just not going to win that because backline comps are so much stronger than frontline comps in this game mode. So by having, a backline comp that just gets destroyed by a modifier, and you have a 3-star princess who dies in 2 hits because she's doing so much damage. That's not true, but you understand what I'm saying, is that this damage reflection was too much. So I think this going down to 40% is going to make that a lot more playable, make it less frustrating to run into. Really good balance there. And then, here's the rework right there. Frontline troops will reflect 40% of the damage taken. Still works the same way, just reflecting less damage. The less is more. I actually haven't played with this one in a long time, and so they may have decreased the frequency of it just because it had been such an issue, but it was a useless modifier. I mean, maybe you benefited from it once when you were going through a lot of merges in the beginning and you happened to enter a game with a troop down, but a troop is always going to be better than whatever it gave you. And this bonus hit speed, I still don't think that's enough to make it worth taking a troop out unless you're playing Clan Avenger and you can benefit by having 2 maxed out comps with only 5 troops. But yeah, I still don't think it's going to be worth it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to make more of an effect than I think, and so I'll play around with it when it drops and see what I think. But I just don't think it's going to be worth using. This is all of the balance changes. They missed some things. I truly believe they missed some things. The biggest thing that they missed was Prince. Prince is just bad. He gets the stun right at the beginning. I was hoping they would rework his stun. Maybe give him more stuns or something, like he stuns. I don't know. They needed to do something to him. He only served any use by, maybe being an extra frontline troop for a ranger comp if I couldn't get knight. I mean, his stun at the beginning was kind of nice. Maybe if you're going up against a giant skelly and you got to push him to the back or something like that. Very minimal utility, and his stats did not make up for it. He was just a bad card, and I still think he's a bad card. They really needed to address that. That was the biggest thing that I think they missed. Royal Ghost is still too strong. They needed to rework his ability. I mean, for every, his ability, he goes invisible for 3.5 seconds every 3 seconds when he's a 4-star. And yes, he has to get a hit to do that. But I mean, that just doesn't work. That doesn't work. I mean, yeah, getting a 4-star Royal Ghost is very, very rare. Are you rarely going to encounter it? Yeah. But having a troop like that, and even at 3 stars, he can be broken. If he's surrounded by troops and he just is able to keep getting attacks off, he'll wipe out the team, especially when it goes into the speed up mode and he does the extra damage. I think he needed to be addressed there. I don't think that Rangers were too strong, too strong to where they needed a nerf. I would have liked to see a nerf to Princess, maybe tweak her hit speed a bit, because she can just shoot through the entire... I mean, yeah, it's good to have a hard counter to Queen, but she can just shoot through an entire Queen, shoot through an entire Royal Ghost. I would have liked to see a bit of a change there. But besides that, though, I mean, maybe a buff to G Skelly, maybe tweak his stats a bit. He's a great card for hard countering things like Queen and Bandit and whatnot, but just not good enough to be something that you really go for. He fits in with the Undead comp and the Undead throwers that I like to play, but just not a great card in general off stats alone. But I'm glad Skeleton King got a buff, but I still think there could have been some love there. Just kind of a rework with Undead as a whole, because Royal Ghost was so strong, G Skelly and Bomber were so weak. Even Skeleton King could have used a bit. So I still think I'm going to really enjoy playing Undead. They're one of my favorites to play, even though they're not that interesting, just because the troop utilities in and of themselves, like G Skelly and Royal Ghost and Skeleton King, and some of the crazy things they can pull off are fun. But yeah, I think they missed Prince. Bummed that didn't get a change. Clan as a whole could have stood to be nerfed, and obviously Queen was the one who carried that, and Valkyrie got reworked a bit as well. But overall, yeah, those are the balance changes. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Is there anything else they missed? Is there anything else that you think they did too much of, too little of? Let me know. By the way, I have started a Discord. I will drop the link in the description below. Please join that. It's we're growing pretty fast there, and I haven't even advertised it on a video yet, so hop in that. I also started a clan that I'm going to be leaving in the description as well. That'll probably fill up pretty fast, but hoping to get some more community things going. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Please drop a like if it helped you out at all, and I will see you in the next one.